Yes! Oh man. Oh man, I am very, very happy to be here. Very excited. Going to sit here and for the first time ever, I'm going to share how I'm breaking down the 32 teams going into 2024. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of break everything down. This is a fluid thing. This isn't a set in stone. There's a possibility I may have missed some things. My first mock draft, I'm leaning towards coming out. I may do one March 4th, but I'm leaning towards March 11th as the first mock draft. There's a chance I may do one with trades. More than likely, I'll just stand pat and not do any mock drafts with trades, with the exception of the 1 and 2 Bears and Washington Commanders trade, which I firmly believe is going to happen. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of start the show here. I'm going to break down how I look at the NFC going into 2024. I'm just using last year's order just as kind of a place here. I'll start off with the NFC East here. With the NFC East, I use a very simple plus-minus system here. Okay, apparently if I go... all right, so apparently my audio is removed when I go out like that. But with the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going with a push here. They're a 12-win team. 12 wins, tough to do in the NFL, but Dallas has a ton of talent. I'm a huge Mike Zimmer fan, but the reason why I got him as a push instead of a plus is that you got to get past the first round of the playoffs. Keep in mind a push. They could be 11-6 and advance to the divisional round, and that would be better. So as a push, I'm kind of leaning towards a plus. They could be a 10-11 win team, do better and advance to the divisional round. There's a chance it could be 13-4. The Cowboys quietly have been drafting exceptionally well over the last couple of years. They really don't get as much credit as I think they deserve. They've done a really good job in the draft. And this team's pretty loaded. And Dallas is kind of a destination place. It's an attractive place for free agents to go to. I read somewhere where the Dallas Cowboys are valued at $9.5 billion, making it the most valuable NFL team. It may not sound like much, but I think free agents would take a little bit less to go to Dallas just because of the facilities. Jerry Jones, a persuasive dude. So I'm kind of a fan here of Dallas kind of getting back to 12 wins again. Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going with a push as well. They were 11-6 last year. Man, it's a really talented team, and I just don't know how to make of that collapse the last month and a half, 2 months of the season. Talent-wise, everything's there. I'm just not really sure how to gauge this team. So right now, I'm going with a push as 11-win team. They could go 10-7, 9-8, and get past the wild card round. This team could also go 9-8 and miss the playoffs. I'm not really sure what to expect from Dallas. I just don't really know here. I didn't think about this. I can do this here. I apologize. So as I can see here, you can go 10, 11 wins and get past. So you can read everything I have here. The number one thing with the Eagles I'm paying attention to is Theo Riddick requested a trade. They drafted Nolan Smith with the 30th pick in last year's draft. That was just an absolute steal. Nolan Smith's going to be a double-digit sack guy. This team's loaded with pass rushers, so losing Theo Riddick's not that big of a loss. But this is a dude who's wildly productive, really good at getting after the quarterback. So if somebody offers a player for Theo Riddick or a high enough draft pick where the Eagles can get a little creative in this draft and really improve on their team, I would really be apt to look at the Eagles as a team that could be better than last year's team. But that collapse is really, really hard for me to get over. I have no idea really what to think about the Eagles, but I'm going with a push for right now. The Giants, yeah, I know I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again, but I'm going with a push for the Giants. I really want to give the Giants a plus, but I got a lot of questions here. Shane Bowen, he was the Titans defensive coordinator, not a bad defensive coordinator. But I'm a huge Wink Martindale fan, so I think the defense might take a step back, even though it's a young, talented defense. I think, going into this season, I think Dable's on the hot seat more than anybody else. I'm also not sold on Daniel Jones at all. Hatters House 710, go Lions. Hey, well, stay tuned, Hatters House 710. I'm doing the NFC North next. But I'm not sold on the quarterback. I'm not sold on the coach. You lose a really good defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale. But here's the pluses is that you got a fantastic front seven. Andrew Thomas is an excellent left tackle, missed almost the whole season. He was 2 years ago, second team All-Pro, just one of the best left tackles in all of football. I remember he came out of Georgia. I love this guy. And for some reason or another, his draft stock, people in mock drafts kept on dropping him for whatever reason. But this you got stud left tackle. You got some pieces on the offensive line. The front seven could be really, really, really good. They were 6-11 last year, but I just have so many doubts. I'm just going ahead and I'm giving them a push for 6 wins. By the way, if the Giants finish 6-11, Dable will be fired, and I'm kind of thinking that's I think the Giants are going to kind of go in a different direction, depending on the outlook. But that's kind of my early on prediction. I'm really curious what they're going to do because if they go quarterback at 6, or maybe they trade up and try to get a quarterback, this team becomes really interesting. I don't see that personally. I think what they'll do is, spoiler alert, but I think that what they'll do is they will more than likely go receiver in round 1. But we'll wait and see what happens. Right now, I'm giving the Giants a push. Washington Commanders is kind of a no-brainer. I'm giving them a plus. I like the Dan Quinn signing, and I like the coaching staff. I am fully convinced that the Washington Commanders will trade up the 1 and draft Caleb Williams. I believe that this is already in the works. I think that what Chicago's doing is there's a lot of rumors that they're willing to give Justin Fields to Atlanta for a second-round pick. I think it's just hype. I don't really believe that that's true. I think that what they're trying to do is drive up the price for the Washington Commanders. Keep in mind, Washington has pick number 36 in the draft, and 36 is a little high just to go from 2 to 1, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. There's also pick number 40 that Washington has. Remember, Washington has an extra second and third round pick. Washington will probably end up overpaying, but I firmly believe that when everything's said and done, Washington's going to have number one pick in the draft. They're going to draft Caleb Williams. Let's say they take Drake May at number 2 instead, who's kind of been the guy. Jaden Daniels is another guy that I've been seeing at 2, but either way, you got your quarterback for the first time in a long time. I know they went into the season with Sam Howell, but I don't think they really believed in him, and then I didn't like the benching him during the season. I by the way, I just think Ron Rivera I think everybody kind of just sort of gave up on Ron Rivera midway through the season. So that's kind of my thought process here. They got some holes on defense, but you got a couple studs on the defensive line, and I'm a firm believer you build a team inside out. So you set up your offensive and your defensive line. You got a couple studs on that defensive line. So there's really I think Washington's going to be better than a 4-win team. That's all I'm going to say. But that's kind of how I look at the NFC East. I'm going to go next to the NFC North, where we talk about the Detroit Lions. We're going to start off there. Of course, the Detroit Lions lost in the NFC Championship game. They were the number 3 seed. Green Bay, which beat the number 2 seed in Dallas and then lost in the division round. Minnesota and Chicago both finished 7-10. Keep in mind, when I put the draft pick down, I'm just kind of giving you an order of how I'm looking at the teams 1 through 32. So Chicago would be the 9th team, Minnesota the 11th. With the Detroit Lions, I got them as a minus here. I don't see Detroit being the second best team in the NFC. And I don't think that they're going to be a 12-win team next year. They are my favorite to win the NFC North, but I definitely think the Lions take a step back. The only way you can take a step forward is making the Super Bowl. That's the only way you can take a step forward. And I love the direction the Lions are in. I just think that you take a step back. I don't think that they'll be the representative in the Super Bowl next year, and I don't think that they're going to win 12 games. However, they are currently my favorite to win the NFC North in 2024, but that could take we'll have to see what they do in free agency. They got a ton of free agents they got to re-sign, and I keep hearing from Lions fans, people will take a hometown discount. I don't see it. I really don't. Let's say let me do this here. I mean, let's say you're you work for a company and your production is, I don't know, 30% higher than normal, and the business does a lot better. And then you come back and your boss says, hey, guess what? You're going to have to take a pay cut. What do you say? You say no, and you want to move on. And I think a lot of these Lions free agents are going to want to get paid for taking the Lions from a perennial loser to an NFC Championship game. So a lot of Lions fans, I think, are going to be disappointed with how they respond in free agency. I keep hearing hometown discount. I don't see it. They're definitely going to take a step back. Or are they going to drop to a 7-win team, 8-win team, or are they still going to be a double-digit winning team? We're going to have to wait and see. They are my favorite to win the NFC North, but they will take a step back. So it'll be interesting. The Lions are a team that's going to be very interesting this offseason to see how they do. The Green Bay Packers, I got a plus on 9. I think that they're a double-digit win team going into 2024, but I got a push on going to the division round. I don't think that they're one of the 2 best teams in the NFC, but could they be one of the best 4 teams in the NFC? Sure, they could be. I think Detroit's slightly better, but they have some questions to answer. They got a lot of holes on defense. They got some holes on the offensive line, particularly at left tackle. Does all that skill position talent that they drafted this year that panned out, is it going to improve? Both the tight ends that they drafted in the 2nd and 3rd round, both of them got hurt during the season. So you got some questions here with Green Bay, but I do like them to improve on a 9-win team. Could they get past the wild card round? I'm leaning towards that, even though I would have them as a 5, 6, or 7 seed. This is a team that's a really good football team, and I think they're getting better. I just think the NFC North overall is going to be one of the tougher divisions in football. I'm not sure they can win it. Currently, I have Detroit winning the North, but this could all change. It's a fluid situation. Minnesota Vikings, I have as a plus here. I fully expect the Vikings to be better than a 7-win team, and it doesn't matter who plays at quarterback. If Cousins returns as the starting quarterback and they sign Justin Jefferson, who's wanting a massive deal, this is, in my opinion, a double-digit win team. But let's just say they draft a quarterback in the first round, which I think they could do. I still think they're better than a 7-win team. I got a feeling Daniel Hunter's going to leave in free agency. That said, I still really like this team going into 2024. This is one of the teams that I'm extremely high on. But you're probably going to lose Daniel Hunter. Can you re-sign Justin Jefferson? And who's the quarterback? I still think they win more than 7 games. This team is going to settle in on a quarterback, probably not have to go with 4 or 5 different starters like they did last year, and you still have a really good football team. So I'm pretty high on the Minnesota Vikings. How high I am are they a playoff team? I don't know yet. We still have a lot of we have the free agent signing period, which is going to happen in a couple of weeks. Then we have the draft. I'm paying very close attention to Minnesota because if they can re-sign Justin Jefferson, they bring back Kirk Cousins, and they can add some pieces, even though I predict they'll lose Daniel Hunter. This is going to be a dangerous team. The Minnesota Vikings are a team I'm really watching for 2024. The Bears, I'm giving a plus only if they keep Fields. Now, the rumor is that they're going to go ahead and trade Fields and draft Caleb Williams. And if that's the case, I'm giving the Bears a push because then I think you got a 7-win team. If you have the Bears as a 7-win team with Caleb Williams as your starting quarterback, that's really not terrible. I think that you're going to look at C.J. Stroud and you're going to say, hey, this guy led his team from, what was it? They won 3 wins or 4 wins to a playoff victory. That's unrealistic for rookie quarterbacks. And it's much more likely that he'll have the same type of success Bryce Young had than he would C.J. Stroud, even though the Bears are really building something here. They got a lot of draft capital. I like the fact that you brought in Montez Sweat, and DJ Moore can play, folks. I personally feel that if you keep Fields and you use both these top 10 picks on players, this is a dangerous team. If you draft a quarterback, you don't know what you're getting. You really don't. And I have no idea why somebody's ringing my doorbell. Stand by, please. Hi. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm working right now. Sorry. All right. Something I'm learning here. I got to put up a sign or something. New neighborhood. So I apologize about that. So, but learning. I predict when everything's said and done, Washington will trade with Chicago. The Bears will have the second pick in the draft, and they'll draft Marvin Harrison Jr. And then at number 9, they'll take best player available. And if that happens, then the Bears will definitely be better than a 7-win team than they were last year. We'll have to wait and see what happens. So next up is the NFC South. I'm going to start off here with Tampa Bay. I'm giving Tampa Bay a push on 9 wins, but a minus on the division round. I don't think that they're going to be one of the 4 best teams in the NFC. I just don't see it. I don't see that they'll be one of the 4 best teams in the NFC. I think that what they'll do is they'll be around 9 wins again. They got some free agents they got to deal with, but if I'm Tampa Bay, I try as hard as I can to keep both Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans, and then they have a good enough. Todd Bowles is such a good defensive coordinator that I could see them with a lot of losses on the defensive side of the ball. If you can keep Mayfield and you keep Evans, you can get the 10 wins. That's how I see it in 2024. But I have no idea what they're going to do in free agency, who you can keep, who you can let go. That's going to determine what they do in the draft. Now, keep in mind they drafted 26. This is a good draft for this is a good draft at 26. Let's say you lose one of those inside linebackers, 26 would be a good spot. Remember a couple of years ago, I think Devin Lloyd was chosen at 26. So I could see that happening. So, but I think 9 wins, I got it as a push. I don't see them. Keep in mind, I don't have Tampa Bay winning this division. So if they do, they could get 10 wins and not even make the playoffs. But I have a hard time looking at Tampa Bay and saying this is one of the 4 best teams in the NFC. 9 wins push minus getting to the division round. The New Orleans Saints, I'm also giving a push. They finished 9-8. It's kind of interesting because they picked 14th. And it's kind of weird because I was leaning towards minus at first, and now I'm leaning towards a push. Leaning towards a plus. And the reason why is that you lose Pete Carmichael, longtime offensive coordinator, so you're going to shake some things up. But I'm a huge Derek Carr fan, and so far, a lot of Saints players have worked restructuring their contracts to free up a lot of cap space. So it looks like the Saints, which were in a terrible cap situation at the beginning, are now in a good cap situation. I also like Clint Kubiak coming in as the offensive coordinator. So the Saints offense, I think, is going to switch from being a passing type of offense to more of a physical smash mouth type of team. You got one of the best running backs in football in Alvin Kamara. I believe Jamal Williams is coming back. I'm not 100% sure on that, to be perfectly honest. But this is a team with some age on defense. So I firmly believe that even though I like the Saints, I'm giving them a push. In the beginning, I was leaning towards a minus. Now I'm kind of leaning towards a push, but they got some holes. And they still have some issues in free agency, so I'll have to see what the Saints do. The Atlanta Falcons, I'm giving a plus. They were a 7-win team last year. So you go from 7 wins to, you could go 8 or 9 wins, still not make the playoffs, and it's a plus. Bringing in Raheem Morris as the head coach is just genius. I thought this is a really, really smart move by the Atlanta Falcons. They're writing a move that they made wrong when Raheem Morris took over as the interim head coach in 2020. He did a good enough job. He should have stayed there as the head coach. The Falcons team really played better, but they went ahead and righted a wrong. I thought that was a really good move. One I wasn't expecting, but a really, really good move. Denver Gator, man, what's up, brother? No, man, it's just you. Hatter's House 7710 popped in. Denver Gator. A lot of people aren't focusing on football late in February, but I'm a junkie. It's very, very good to see you in the chat, brother. I don't want to get too much in your business, but hopefully you're okay. I've been meaning to give you a call. So, yeah, Denver Gator. Yeah, it's a little quiet in the chat. So I'm just going to kind of go through my spiel here and go with my NFC early predictions so far. But it's a very fluid thing that is going to change up as a free agency and the draft comes in. So this is something I'm going to keep revisiting during the off season up until July, because after July the 4th, that's when I start breaking down the teams for the regular season. So I'm going to kind of revisit this in July. Next week, there's a possibility. I've been working with Keaton Talk Sports. He has some mock drafts, and it's funny, even though I really like his mock drafts, I disagree with a lot of what he has to say. So I'm kind of hoping to do some draft videos with some guests in the upcoming future. Atlanta at 8. I think that they're going to draft a quarterback. There's been a lot of rumors about Justin Fields going here. I don't think it's going to happen, but if Justin Fields does pop in as a starting quarterback, then it's definitely a plus. He would be a really good fit because you have two really good running backs. You have some talent at receiver. Kyle Pitts, I forget what school he went to, Denver Gator, is a weapon that they really haven't utilized correctly. He's also been banged up, but even if you go with a rookie quarterback, you solidified the quarterback position here in Atlanta. And this is easily a double-digit team. I would like Justin Fields here, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I firmly think Atlanta is going to take a quarterback. Could they do the same thing the Carolina Panthers did and go from 8 to 1? It's possible, but I don't see that happening. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here with Atlanta. But I definitely think that they will improve from the 7-win teams from last year. Carolina Panthers, it's definitely a plus. I mean, you're a 2-win team. I have a hard time believing that you're not going to be better than a 2-win team. But no head coach hire surprised me more than Dave Canales when he was brought in to as the head coach. It really surprised me. There's always one head coach hire that kind of comes out left field, and this is the one the Carolina Panthers did. I like what Canales has been able to do. He worked really well with Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith. Bryce Young, I think, has more talent than both those quarterbacks. So if he can unlock the talent of Bryce Young, this is going to be a really, really good football team. One thing I thought that was really interesting is that normally you bring in a new head coach and he gets to bring in his coaching staff. Instead, the coaching staff is pretty much kept intact. They're going to keep the defensive coordinator, and I think that's a good move. You got some young talent there on defense, and I don't think the defense was really that bad. I just think the offense was just horrific. But Bryce Young has a lot of talent, and I firmly believe that things will kind of get better for the Carolina Panthers. How much better, I don't really know, but I am a huge fan of Dan Morgan being the new general manager. I was a huge fan of him as a player. I'm kind of curious if he's going to have the same type of impact that John Lynch had. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think that this is I like what they did keeping the defensive side of the ball or the defensive coaching staff intact. So I really like that. There's some really good things I like here about the Carolina Panthers. So definitely better than 2 wins. Is how many wins? I really don't know. But I really like what they're doing so far. We'll have to wait and see. Keep in mind the 33rd pick in the draft is not a bad pick. The Steelers, actually it was 34th. I think the Steelers got Joey Porter Jr., but I fully expect the Carolina Panthers to do some really good things going forward here. If Canales is the guy that they think he is, but definitely, no matter, it's hard to win less than 2 games. So unless he's an absolute turd, this is going to be better than a 2-win team in 2024. NFC West, I got you got San Francisco, Rams, Seattle, and Arizona. San Francisco 49ers, I'm giving a minus. The only way you could be a plus is that you win the Super Bowl. Getting to the Super Bowl and losing again would be a push, but I don't see San Francisco getting back to the Super Bowl. The reason why is that they're going to lose some key players in free agency. They made, you remember they traded a 3rd-round pick for Chase Young. Keep in mind, they did get them to a Super Bowl. How successful they were, that's up for you to decide. But it wouldn't surprise me if San Francisco goes 12-5 again. I just don't think that they're going to get back to the Super Bowl. They're going to lose players in free agency. A lot of their players are getting up there in age, but Purdy is still cheap. So you got some good things here. I just don't see them getting back to the Super Bowl. I don't think that they're going to do it. Keep in mind the Eagles from last year looked like they were better and they didn't get back. So we'll wait and see what happens, but I firmly expect the 49ers to take a step backwards. How far back, I'm not really sure, but we'll have to see what happens in free agency in the draft, because if the 49ers can keep this team intact and then add an impact player in the draft, which is possible, you got something special here. So we'll have to wait and see what the 49ers do here. Los Angeles Rams, I am given a +2, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm leaning towards having the Rams be my favorite to win the West so far. Stafford is a guy that can play, and is there a better duo of receivers than Puka and Cooper? I mean, Cooper missed a lot of the season, but he comes back healthy. I know he's on the wrong side 30, but you got Puka, who looks like he's just a monster, and then you got Cooper Kupp, who a couple of years ago was the best receiver, undisputed the best receiver in football. Stafford's still one of the best quarterbacks in football. I don't think it's realistic for him to play 17. It's just his age and injury history, but still one of the better quarterbacks in football. You still have Aaron Donald, and here's the drill. The Rams haven't used a first-round draft pick in about 6 or 7 years. It's something crazy. It wouldn't surprise me if the Rams stick to what they've been doing and trade that first-round pick for a player. Somebody like I mentioned Theo Riddick earlier. You could have somebody like, for example, Chris Jones, somebody who I would love to see back in Kansas City. I'm going to do the AFC Friday, but you could do that. That's just kind of been what the Rams have been doing. They don't mind trading that draft pick for players, and it wouldn't surprise me if they do it again. But for right now, the Rams do have a first round draft pick, and the Rams relied more on rookies this year than any other team. If all those rookies take a step up, this is the best team in the NFC West, hands down, and maybe the best team in the NFC. So we'll have to see what they do. It's very interesting what they are going to do in the draft. I fully expect the Rams to use one of their draft picks for a player. It's just what they've done, and don't be surprised they do it again. I always look for trends. So, but what happens if they do pick somebody at 19? It could be, you could be looking at something really fun here with the Rams. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens here. But I definitely looking at the Rams as a plus, and they're kind of. I'm not 100% sure I want to call them my favorite pick to win the NFC West, but I'm kind of leaning that way. Seattle Seahawks is a minus. I remember Pete Carroll. I said for a long time he should have just stuck in college. I think with the way the NIL situation is, I don't see Pete Carroll going back into coaching. I was originally thinking he may sign with another school, but I don't see it now. I think the NIL situation's kind of little kind of crazy, but we'll see what happens here with Pete Carroll. But I'm kind of leaning towards Pete Carroll going into TV. I think he's kind of an entertaining guy, and I've always been a Pete Carroll fan. I wasn't at first, but he did win me over. Remember, you gave up a second. I think it was a second this year and a fifth next year for Leonard Williams, and he's a free agent. Can you re-sign him? That's something they weren't able to do. John Schneider wanted more player control. He got it, and he's got limited draft capital, where last year he had a ton of draft capital. Mike McDonald, who was the Ravens defensive coordinator, a guy who's just been skyrocketing through the coaching ranks. I'm not surprised they got a head coaching job. I just didn't think this was really the team that he should be a part of. To be perfectly honest, I think that they should have gone after an offensive-minded coach, because you got so many weapons on offense. So now you bring in a guy who's more of a defensive guy. I have a hard time seeing this working, to be perfectly honest. And another thing is, I've never been high on Geno Smith, but if Geno Smith plays well, this is a team with a ton of talent. So right now, I'm leaning towards a minus with Seattle. But to wait and see what happens. Arizona, this is kind of a no-brainer. It's a plus. Kyler Murray, when he came back from injury, which I kind of thought he'd sit out for the whole year, but when he came back, this team looked pretty good. This was a pretty good football team. And you got 12 draft picks. You got 2 in the first round and 3 in the third round. There's a good chance that you get 4 to 5 starters from the draft, but how will the Cardinals attack this draft? Are they going to do like what the Rams did and use all these draft picks and have all of them play? Or do you trade some of these draft picks for players and just say, hey, look, we got Kyler Murray. The defense is pretty good. We need some playmakers. They at the 4th pick in the draft, I fully expect them to take a wide receiver. So fully expect them to take a wide receiver. Keaton Talk Sports. I was talking about you earlier, Keaton. I was talking about your mock draft, which, by the way, I really liked your mock draft. It's just me and you disagree on a lot, and that's a good thing. I think it's a really good thing. So I'm really excited. I'm hopeful that I can get you to come on in March when both of us have mock draft videos that are released. So Keaton Talk Sports tuning in, saying the Rams are a sleeper next year with guys like Puka and Kupp. I think the 49ers and Lions will be good, but take a step back record-wise. Eagles need a lot of help in the secondary. I agree with you completely. The Rams are a team that I'm really high on. They were the number 6 seed. I think that they're going to be better in 2024 than they were in 2023. And I think the 49ers and Lions are both going to take a step back. But the Lions, I still have my NFC North winner. The 49ers, I don't know who. I'm kind of leaning towards the Rams right now. The Eagles need some help. I got them as a push, but they're a tough team to gauge. This is a good draft, though, for corners. So the Eagles, I think they pick at 22. If I remember correctly, in your mock draft, you have them taking a corner. By the way, Keaton Talk Sports has 2 mock draft videos. I love the second one. I like the format, how you did it a lot better, just video aesthetics wise. So, and if I'm correct, Keaton Talk Sports will have a new mock draft tomorrow. If you want to advertise, Keaton, I'm more than willing to let you put some notes in the chat. But I think you have your mock draft videos coming out on Wednesday. I'm going to try to have mine out on Monday. We'll have to wait and see if I'm going to do Monday or Tuesday. The one thing I do want to point out is Kyler Murray's not played all 17 games in a while, but if he does, I think the Cardinals are a playoff team, and I know it sounds a little crazy, but the 4th pick in the draft, I think that there's a good chance they're going to get a stud wide receiver. You add that to Kyler Murray staying healthy, the defense playing pretty good, the offense just. Who knows how good this offense could be with a stud wide receiver. So there's a lot of things that could be really, really good with the Arizona Cardinals next year. Keep in mind, I don't expect Kyler Murray to play all 17 games. It's just he hasn't been able to do so. But if he does, this is a super sleeper team. So I'm really excited about that. I have a Arizona Cardinals longtime supporter, Corey, a.k.a. the Red Sea. I think he's doing some draft stuff as well. If he is, I'm going to see if I can get him on as well. I'd love to see what he thinks about his Cardinals in the draft. This is just my NFC preview. I'm going to kind of refer back to this over the next several months, but just kind of a recap here. Dallas Cowboys, I'm doing a push. Eagles and Giants also a push. Washington gets a plus. Detroit has a minus. Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago all have pluses. Keep in mind, Chicago only gets a plus if they stay with Fields. If they go with Caleb Williams, I'm going to give them a push. Tampa Bay and the Saints, I have as a push. Atlanta, Carolina are pluses. San Francisco is a minus. Rams are a plus. Seattle's a minus. Arizona's a plus. Right now, today, I would have the division winners. Keep in mind, the NFC East has not had back-to-back division winners in like something crazy. But Dallas is my favorite to win the division. Detroit is my favorite. Right now, even with an unknown quarterback situation, I like Atlanta. A team's just loaded with talent, and I think Morris is an excellent hire. And I'm kind of leaning towards the Rams, but I don't have a set in stone thing yet. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So that's kind of my This is how I go every off season. So every off season, I start off and I just use a very simple plus minus system. And what I do is that these are how all 24 teams work out. I'm going to do the AFC Friday. I'm going to keep referring back to this because this is something fluid. This is something that's going to change. Free agency, draft, all these things are going to be included. But just to recap here, this is kind of what I'm looking at is kind of like a rough estimate here. I'm going to go see if I can do this here. Okay, yeah, that's a little better. More of me. So this is kind of just a base of how I'm looking at the 2024 season. I'm going to do the AFC on Friday, just kind of give you guys kind of a rough preview of what I'm looking at. And then next week is just going to be draft. We're just going to go all draft. Keep in mind the NFL draft is starting this week. So next week, there is a possibility. There's a small possibility I may have my first mock draft video out on the 4th, but I'm leaning towards the 11th. So I want to throw out the expectation of the 11th, but maybe I'll put one out on the 4th. You never know. But I'm leaning towards the 11th, but there is a possibility if I can get, because I have the draft on DVR, I have to work quite a bit. But if I get to watch enough of the combine, I like watching all of the combine. I always pick out a few things that other people don't. I've been watching the combine for years and years, and I always like to notice a few things. It's like I kind of like CJ Stroud. I just like the way he conducted himself at the combine. I noticed people were kind of drawn to him. I also noticed that Bryce Young, I think his agent told him to do this. He wore a hoodie and a backpack, and it kind of made him look bigger. And I think that was something he did on purpose. Don't be surprised if Marvin Harrison Jr., who's not working out, but he'll be answering questions if he does something similar where he's wearing bulky stuff to make him look a little bigger. I also kind of expecting the same thing out of Caleb Williams, who's not going to work out as well. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to work out at all. He's going to be attending, but he won't be throwing. I think Drake May is. I'm kind of excited about that. And then Jaden Daniels is, I think, just answering questions. Same thing, Jaden Daniels, who I don't even think he'll be measured or anything there. But I'm really excited about the combine. If I get to watch enough of it, I'll try to come out with a mock draft video on the 4th. I'm leaning towards the 11th, and then every week I'll have a mock draft video, and hopefully I can get guys like Keaton Talk Sports. Maybe I can get Corey, the Red Sea, to come on and talk draft stuff. Because one thing, I love Keaton's videos, but it's just one thing I love about the NFL draft is that two people that know their football can look at the draft and have a completely different perspective. And that's one of the reasons why I want to get some guests in. But with the move and everything, it's been a little difficult. So that's really all I have. I'm going to kind of keep this short and sweet. But, I pride myself when I do a video, all questions are answered, anything goes. So thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, anything before I end the chat. And I'll be back Friday. Friday is going to be the AFC. I'm going to break down the AFC. I'm going to go ahead and break down all 16 teams. Very similar process, just a simple plus-minus system, just like I do with the NFC. And I'll keep referring back to this as we continue looking at the teams through the off season. So usually what I do is around July. It's when I start getting back into this, breaking down the teams. So that's where we're at. On that note, don't forget, give me a thumbs up if you haven't already. Don't forget, if you're one of these shadow watchers, don't do that. Hit that subscribe button. And I look forward to seeing you back on Friday where I break down the AFC.